Listen, today I'm going to share with you the 5 things that I am no longer tolerating, because the beautiful thing about reaching your 50s is that you realise that your life should never have been about chasing what you want out of life. It was always about learning to stop putting up with certain things. And I think we have, as women, done that for decades. We say yes when we're meant to say no, when we mean no. We have carried the weight of things that have crushed us, and we've been performing, right? And I really believe that personal growth for women in our 50s is not about what we're all told we were meant to do, the new habits, the new things, all that jazz. It's not about adding more. I think there's a massive mindset shift that we've all made around shedding, removal, stripping away, because actually what we were doing is we were teaching people a version of ourselves that isn't real. Hello, welcome if you're new here. I'm Marv. We talk about the freedom we feel in our 50s, our awakening. So if that's your wavelength, hit subscribe. Because what you realise in this decade is that kind of the flatness that you feel isn't just a lack of energy, it's the huge over expenditure. You know, we've been running around, we've been performing, and the only way back to yourself, I think, is through subtraction. The first point I want to talk about is relationships. For me, instead of things feeling stronger, some of them have started to peel away. You know, I fell out with a friend of mine over a decade ago now because I saw her true colours. Now, I'd always known what she was like when it came to money, but it came to her accusing me of not spending enough on her around a particular personal life situation. Me not spending enough on her, I saw the light. And there was no big dramatic fallout, anything like that. I just stopped calling her. I heard nothing. Years later, she's back on my radar. We have a relationship now. It's a new relationship. It's not the same. It's very different. We still talk about the good memories we have, but I recalibrated. We recalibrate. And there is a clarity in that rediscovery. And then there are the narcissists, and you know who they are, and you have let them have their way for decades. It might be professionally, might be personal. You've accommodated them, you've managed them, you've made space for them, they've dominated the conversations. They never ask about you. And when they do for a second, you talk for 10 seconds, right? And then they're cutting back in, diverting the conversation back to them. Lordy, you know who they are. Now, you know, maybe I was stupid. Now I do not engage with them. I am done. Especially after waking up to the fact that they kind of want you around in their big moments in their lives. But when it comes to your time, they are conspicuous by their absence, aren't they? So no, I don't put up with it anymore. Don't even have the relationship. Sometimes relationships are not meant to cost you your peace. And for you, like, if everything feels kind of weighty and feels transactional, that is information for you. You know you've got to save yourself. It is the first step of subtraction. And the second point I wanted to talk about was institutions. I spent 6 years in academia teaching journalism, and it was a career that I left broadcasting for, that I had all my hopes and dreams on. It was going to be my retirement plan. I was director of journalism. I was teaching the reporters of the future, correspondence, and I poured everything into it. My experience, my contacts, my mornings, my weekends, my reputation. It was like it was going to be my legacy career, right? I was going to go out on a high. It was going to be something that would outlast my career on camera. And the beautiful thing about it, the beautiful legacy is I've got lovely journalists out there now. They are making a name for themselves, but I had to leave. I came away from academia feeling the heaviest I've ever felt. Not least because of the grief of losing one of my older brothers during that time whilst I was in education. But also there was a grief that I think as women over 50 we end up feeling because we've given to a machine like the institution or the business or a team. And that grief comes when they show you that you put in so much and they don't give you the support. They don't give you the support that you imagined you should have had. Maybe we're stupid for thinking that. They don't see you. They don't support you. They drain you dry, right? And the thing is, the reality is, you know, when an institution doesn't need you, they will cut you, they will kick you out, they will leave you high and dry. and they'll fill your position with somebody else real quick. And you're left asking the question, was it worth it? So if you are there right now, you've got to hear this. Learn to spot the difference between giving your all to something that is quite intangible, feels fulfilling, and letting go of the one that is not serving you. I wish I'd have known that sooner, to be honest. But, I escaped. I escaped. And there's a relief around choosing yourself and choosing less over more. And I think it's about letting that noise of the whole machine drop away until you can finally hear yourself again. It is beautiful. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is suffering fools. And, there's that saying, isn't there? You don't suffer fools gladly. I don't. But you've got to decide when to speak and when to act. And sometimes staying professional, well, I found is the most powerful thing you can do. Like in my 20s, I walked out of lots of jobs, more jobs than you had hot dinners. I was a hothead. I did not think about the consequences of being broke and having to tell my mum. But now, I've been on air, live, in a studio, lots of pressure. And there was a situation last year when one of my colleagues on air asked me an opinion and then talked over me, drowned me out in front of millions and millions of viewers, right? And I had a choice. I could have sat there and gone, I could have kicked off, but I didn't. And I have the menopausal rage, right? And I could literally break someone's neck in a heartbeat if I wanted to. But in that moment, I went, no, because if I kick off, I'm the angry black woman and it's going to cost me my job. And for me, those kind of decisions made me start to understand that you see fools, right? And you decide what you're going to do. Do you act, carry on? One of the two, right? So I reckon, what you're learning is there's a tolerance, right? You've got a level of tolerance, but I think it's not to let them take up time rent-free in your head, right? Just deal with it or move on, right? You either decide to or you're not. And I think that professionalism is a testament to midlife women. The next thing I want to talk about is managing your presence, because for me, most of my life, I've managed my presence, who I am, my volume, my opinions. And I think much of that is down to the conditioning, really. Black women have a stereotype. We're too loud. We're aggressive. Keep the noise down. Don't be assertive. Be nice, friendly, smile. It's tiring. And then also being a journalist in this country, working for broadcasters, you report on stories. You never give your opinion on stories. And that's due to broadcasting law, right? You never give your opinion when you're reporting on a story for TV or radio. So any opinions I've had about stories, I have kept quiet. But do you notice how much you combust now, explode over everything when you're watching the news, when someone just gets on your nerves and you stop trying to make yourself easier to be around so that no one else feels threatened? Because to me, that absolutely makes no sense. And the problem is that you do it for so long that it starts to feel like your personality. And actually, I think some of us start to believe the kind of edited version of ourselves is the real you. So back in the day, if someone had a problem with you, you might go, oh, God, why? What did I do wrong? What did I say? You change yourself. And as you do that, you adjust. But gradually, you start to understand that other people's discomfort with the full version of you is not your responsibility to fix. When you stop adjusting, what you notice is how much energy and power comes back to you. Energy and power that you didn't know you were expending, that you didn't know you were throwing away. And some people call this around women like a midlife crisis. No. It's a realization that you've been editing yourself, you've been flattening yourself, you've been trying to be easier to be around. Suddenly you have the energy to just breathe, and it is beautiful. The last point I want to talk about is the stories that you tell yourself. Like for years, for decades, I dressed myself like I'd accepted the verdict that I was always going to be the fat kid that I grew up as, right? I got 10 pairs of the same black ponty stretch trousers. I called it classic dressing. What I didn't realise is that I was kind of making myself invisible. And I looked in the mirror one day and went, where did Marv go? Where did Marv go? because I've been carrying that story since I was a child. I was a fat kid. You're always going to struggle. You've got no willpower, Marv. That's just how you are. And I just kept repeating it, and it started to become one that I was believing in. It's a massive lie. And I'd done all the diets, and I'd done the gyms, and I'd done the weight loss jabs and the weight loss tablets. None of them ever really worked. And it wasn't until I really got to the root of why I was unhappy. I didn't trust myself enough to change myself mentally and physically to make sure that I could be healthy and not have a stroke and not have a heart attack and not have high blood pressure. So when I torched that lie and I started eating properly, building the strength, understanding what my body needs instead of punishing myself, everything shifted. I have started to feel vibrant again, myself again, not the covered up, the black trouser version, more colourful, more attractive, and I'm not hiding, right? So please know, you are not the verdict you were handed as a child. You just realise you might have been carrying stories and personas that you've inherited from a version of you that doesn't exist anymore. Remember that. You can decide that the verdict is actually done. The sooner you do that, the better. And remember, you didn't decide to tolerate all of this. It crept up on you over the years, over the decades. And the same way it crept up on you, the same way you can peel all the layers away. Come back and tell me in the comments, what are you subtracting today? If you've ever felt this, you are not alone. YouTube's telling you to go and watch this. So I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching.